All right, hello Sooner Nation. This is probably going to be it's basketball season, so in the conference play. So now we are back to hating life again. We got that little bit of break with non-conference schedule where we got to forget a little bit about what happened in football, and now basketball's here. But Steve, how you been doing, man?
Well, outside of Sooner basketball, things are pretty good. I guess the only thorn in the side I saw was I did see Isaiah Hartenstein did come down with some injury and is going to be reevaluated in a week.
Good timing right before Cleveland, so that's perfect.
But our everything going well with the Thunder. Got 2 conference road wins for my high school basketball team last night, so that's always a good thing. All in all, going well, much better than it is for Porter and the gang. But I don't know. Do we want to start with our "We Wish Upon a Star" Jim Knowles, or do we want to jump right into the Porter? Do we want to end happy, or do we want to start happy? I guess.
Let's start with football, because how much have we talked about football? We have to start transitioning to basketball. So let's start with the football stuff with the DC. I'm sure as everybody's heard, the rumor is that Jim Knowles is rumored to be coming to the University of Oklahoma to be our defensive coordinator. That said, on Twitter, all our fan base is like, why would he want to do that? He's at Ohio State, blah, blah, blah. Well, the reason he wants to do that is because he can be the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football. And his fiance lives in Oklahoma. So,
there's a lot of variables that we don't know, too. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Why did Zach Alley leave Oklahoma to go to West Virginia? And if you want to try to tell me that West Virginia is closer in status to Oklahoma than Oklahoma is to Ohio State, you're listening to the wrong podcast.
Yeah.
But there's always factors that go on. Maybe Ryan Day's a douche to work with.
Yeah. Okay?
Maybe Ryan Day is not a fun guy. I will say this, and I was, for Ohio State the other night because I would root for a lot of people. I won't say something I usually say since this is on video, but I would root for a lot of people before I would root for the Texas Longhorns. And that being said, I know back when we had the home and home with Ohio State, the absolute worst fans that I ever dealt with were the Ohio State Buckeyes. Those fans were arrogant, didn't enjoy them, didn't really like how their players conducted themselves on the sidelines. They were rude to staffers. They were just it was a miserable experience. It truly was, and I was never so happy that our beloved son Baker Mayfield planted a flag right in the middle of their place. And one of the great things used to, when you could ask Siri, who owns Ohio State University, and it would say Baker Mayfield. But all that being said, maybe that's part of it. Maybe he doesn't like being Ohio State. Maybe it's a great place for some. Maybe it's not a great place for him.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that go into it. It doesn't have to make sense. It's just a good thing if it does, because you've heard Jeremy and I talk a lot about optics on here, and that, I've said from the beginning, I don't think Allie leaving was a huge loss. I think it's really poor optics, and I think a lot of things that have happened have been poor optics, look bad, for lack of a better term. And this would be something that would buy us a lot of good optics. You go out and you get the best DC in the country, arguably, to come and be the DC, then that's a game changer perception-wise. It just is. And I think what money it would cost, if we got to pay him $500,000 more a year than Ohio State does, pay it. That's going to pay for itself in donations back, because that's going to fire up the fans. We're going to be excited for that, I think.
Well, and you look at it this way too. We've talked a lot about the narrative that OU's not forking the money over for players. They are, we're giving Venables all that he needs. We spent big money on Arbuckle. We spent big, gigantic money on Mateer. So if we get Knowles, there's no excuses. And guys, let me put this out there too. If somebody told me if you fail this next season, you don't have a job, I would think to myself, I've got to change up what I've been doing because I've had the losing records 2 out of my 3 years I've been here. So whatever I'm doing now isn't working. So for them to say he's not going to give up play calling because he's too proud is bullcrap. So he will if it gets winter. So
I mean, here's the deal, guys. I mean, say what you want about BV, whether you're one of those people that we should have sent in packing, or you're one of those people that everything he's done is perfect and it's just bad luck. Wherever you are in between that spectrum, the guy is without a doubt a great football coach. Now, whether he's a great head coach or not, we don't know. But the guy has been around winners his entire life, and he has saw people make adjustments. Dabo, whether you like him or not, is not the exact same coach now as he was. He even took people out of the transfer portal this coming year. Dabo went and got Penn State's defensive coordinator. Okay, that's not something Dabo did originally. What did he do? When BV left, who was his bread and butter, he went and promoted the guy, kind of like what we just did. It didn't work out. So what did he do? He went and got somebody good, got somebody in the playoff as their DC. If you don't think Brent doesn't look at, Brent is really based on, like 3 people. It's Bill Snyder, it's Bob Stoops, and it's Dabo Sweeney. And there's things Brent's going to take from each and every one of those. And he's going to grow, guys, or he's going to not be coaching anymore. And just like Jeremy said, if you're saying, well, why would he give that up? Because he wants to keep his job, because he wants to win, because he knows he has to change. And, why would
and also too, like the narrative that like he doesn't. Here's my thing. The guy loves the University of Oklahoma. You can say what you want. He's not trying to lose. I've heard that narrative, which I understand. The best job in America is a fired college football coach. But that said, also too, he has a lot of love for this university. And guys, I think also too, what we need to look at. I know we're getting off on the Venable stuff, but look at it this way. I think we all look at, and this is me including, when you say we need to get rid of him, we need to change it up. You got to understand what's going along with this. Because I don't know if y'all follow Jaden O'Neill on Twitter, but he loves Brent Venables. So if Venables is gone, we lose Jaden O'Neill. And also, too, the sole mission, we make fun of it, but the sole mission is a big deal.
We're starting from scratch. And you know what? Maybe we start from scratch and it's next year and the SEC does us a solid like they did Missouri, or the way the Big Ten did Indiana, and they give us a cupcake schedule, and whoever comes in has a clean slate, and they get to play the lower tier teams, and they look like a freaking genius, like it worked out for Cignetti. Okay? Maybe that's how it works out. Maybe it does. But almost without a doubt, the most talented football team we could put out next year was with Brent Venables leading it. And it's really probably going to be the same thing again the next year, regardless of how this year goes. But all that being said, and to get back to the Knowles thing and the finances thing and his talent acquisition thing, I was listening to the Unofficial 40 before I got on here. And George had done some good research that I want to give him credit for. I don't want to, steal this from him, but he was doing an article about talent retention. And, what percent of our last 3 recruiting classes are still here at Oklahoma? And, how does that compare with Ohio State and Notre Dame? Okay. We're over 60% of those 3 classes are still here. That's higher than either one of those 2 schools. I think we're like 63, 64%, something like that. Where we have missed is in our talent acquisition is we have not hit in the portal. We haven't hit big in the portal. We haven't. And something that is different, Jeremy talked about this, is doing the same things with different results. How we went out and got the portal this year is different. And people can pee, gripe, and moan about the money ball and the Rosenberg and, paying for different talent at different levels and that sort of thing. But we have to try something different. What we've done hasn't worked. Garen Hatchett seemed like a good idea on the offensive line last year, but you can't play an offensive lineman with a torn bicep. Okay, Bauer Sharp. Obviously, we've went down that road. We don't know whether we hit on Deion Burks or not. We don't know. We're going to find out. Hopefully that was a hit. That's something we've talked about a lot on here because we went and got Deion Burks in the portal first open last year. That was like our first choice. That was our Isaiah Bond. And not that Isaiah Bond was awesome for Texas, but all that being said, we have changed some things. We're not trying to do this the exact same thing. We have the number one player in the portal coming in.
Okay? Yeah, and getting Deion Burks too back is huge. But I think the forgotten man in all this is Jaden Gibson.
Without a doubt. I mean, what did we hear all this last fall camp, Jeremy? We heard that Jaden Gibson was the best of all the receivers. I mean, that was something Gabe and Teddy talked about a lot. I know some of the other insider people were really big on what he looked like. I mean, as basketball guys, you can't teach 6'6". Okay, you can't teach that size. And speaking of size, I was looking at a picture on Twitter the other day with all of our new receivers that are coming in. Whether that's Giovanni Gibson, Satanga, all the different Keontez Lewis, all those different guys. Also, some of our freshmen coming in, Elijah Thomas, and those guys as well. And Elijah Thomas, as I've talked about before, I've seen that kid play since he's a freshman. Know how big of a kid he is. And in that receiver picture, he looked like he was probably the second smallest guy in that picture with the receivers coach. And, if we'd have taken that same picture last year with the people coming in, our receivers coach would have looked like Shaq. Okay. We've added size. We've added, we're trying something different and that's good. And there is some tit for tat, is Satanga a replacement? Obviously we did go get, some speed with some different things, but I feel like we are trying something different. And, I think we all just need to know that every day that goes by that BV has not announced a defensive coordinator is another quarter in the jar that it could be, break to pay Jim Knowles. Yeah. I mean, I think the longer this goes on, the better it is for OU.
And guys, are we really that bad off if Venables says, hey, I'm coaching for my job. I'm just going to coach the defense this year.
Yeah.
Are we bad off to say the guy who was considered the best defensive coordinator in college football before he took the head coaching job at OU? Are we that bad? I understand, guys, like he needs to focus on being a head coach, but it's to the point now where it's like he's probably telling himself, if I don't get Knowles, I'm just probably going to promote Hall, and it's going to be my defense.
Yeah, and whether it's promote Hall, whether it's hire, Goodwin, whether it's, whatever it is, maybe it's promote, Crud. Maybe it's Jay Velisis, he's going to leave if he's not promoted. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe they promote him. I mean, we'll see. Maybe it's Todd Bates. Whatever. No big deal. We know who's calling the shots in that scenario. And
I can tell you, if Jim Knowles comes here, Venables is giving away his praise to the defense.
Someone I've always tried to compare, things to Marcus Freeman, Marcus Freeman replaced Chip Kelly. Wrong Kelly. Marcus Freeman, Brian Kelly, and Venables were all, all started at their jobs at the same time. And, something Freeman has done is when hired people to run the offense and defense. Freeman was the DC. Kelly tried to take him to LSU. The players almost revolted, and that's how Freeman ends up being the head coach at Notre Dame. And, the fake punt, thing that Freeman pulled the other day, all the strings that he's pulled, all the just how good the game management's been at Notre Dame. Freeman doesn't have that if he doesn't have those veteran guys running that. And that's what we all want BV to get to. And I think that's why, most importantly, we're excited for the fact that Jim Knowles might be the DC. I mean, at least that's for me. That's
I mean, it's different. I mean, Zach Alley was here. You said it many times, like what Zach Alley bring to the table, absolutely nothing. It's not like he had recruits. That's what's funny is Jesus, his name just slipped my mind. The guy who transferred, the linebacker, Lewis Carter. Everybody's like, I guess he's going to West Virginia. Where'd he go? UCF. So it's like nobody's like following him. So what's that tell you? Like nobody was here because of Zach Alley. Now, right. I'm not hating on the guy. The guy did what he's supposed to, but he is. I mean, he said it whenever we all said it when he came here. That is a Brent Venables clone. Yeah. Brent Venables brought a guy in that he could basically say, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. And guys, that's why Zach Alley left. He got $1.5 million to go to West Virginia. And now he gets to run his defense, and he's going to get credit for it because any success that he had at OU was going to be, well, that's Brent Venables doing that. If Jim Knowles has success at OU, that's Jim Knowles' defense.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the deal, guys, and you have to understand this about this. Something Jeremy and I were talking a little bit before we got on. It's going to be a while before all these coaching staffs are set. Now, obviously, I do think by the next time we're on here, we're going to know more about the DC position. And I make the joke, it's 7:35 p.m. on January 15th, and Joe John still has a job, and that frustrates me. At the University of Oklahoma, but at the same time, there's lots of changes that are going to take place. The NFL head coaching tree has to get filled first, and they've changed the rules on that if you work for, and this is something I didn't know, I actually read this today. If you work for an NFL team, you cannot go to do an in-person interview, even if your season's over. Like Cliff Kingsbury can't go. His season's still going on because Washington won last week, but he can't go in-person interview for the Bears job. He has to do that by Zoom. And that was something that Mike Vrabel, who ended up getting the Patriots job, had put in, even though he was doing some analyst things for Cleveland. He put in his deal that he wanted to be done week 15, so that way he could not be employed and go interview anymore. But I'm telling you that just to tell you that don't expect all these NFL jobs to be hired real quick. That's going to have to be after the Super Bowl for some of those things, and that puts them in a tight deal with the draft. But those head coaching jobs have to be hired, then those coordinator jobs, then those specialty jobs. That's where DeMarco wants to be long term. That's where Javon.
And I'll be shocked is when the season starts is
both those guys are gone.
Yeah, Joe John and DeMarco's there. I'll be shocked.
Yeah,
I think.
We're not.
Yeah, and I think Jerry Jones wants to. If Jerry Jones is bringing all his old players back because he's going to put Witten on tight ends, he's going to put DeMarco up running back. Like Jerry Jones has no clue what he's doing. So all he's doing is
did you see him in Landman? He acted his ass off in Landman. You cut that ass slack.
He did.
He is in there crying because poor John Hamm, bless his heart, having to be married to Demi Moore and being a billionaire, just broke his dang heart, and he freaking died in the last one. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Hey, all I can tell you is he dead on that last one?
We'll see.
Hey,
didn't know this was a Landman pod, did you? But
the guy who made Yellowstone, the guy knows how to make shows. That's because now he's got me and the amount of stuff I was throwing after I realized that was the last episode of the season. I'm like, who would have thought I'm an oil man now, right? But no, Jerry Jones is very good in that. I will give him that. But
maybe it's Coach Prime and DeMarco's down there. I mean, I personally have wrote multiple letters of reference for Steve Sarkisian for all the NFL job openings. I've called every one that I know, which is absolutely no one, and told them that please hire Sark. You need him. Think he'd do a great job for somebody, spend some time in the NFL. And let's be honest, Jeremy, old Bevo down the road, they've lost a lot of cats, man.
Hey, but also too, here's something I was saying to a guy on Twitter. I get in so many Twitter fights with people, but this guy was like, Texas, see, it's what's happening. I'm like, they're going to the draft. Like, here's the thing. When you have a good football team and you have guys that can go to the NFL,
they do.
What do? They go to the NFL.
But, that's part of what, though people don't understand. That's why this Ohio State team is so good, is Ohio State has got probably 8 guys who could have went to the draft last year and been day 1 or day 2 picks who are still playing. And that's why,
which goes back to the Knowles deal. Like, Knowles probably looks at it. We're set up better at OU. Not saying that Ohio State just reloads, but to say that, like,
they're not going to have what they have this year, Jeremy. Ohio State's not. I mean, and you know that, I know that, everybody knows that.
And to look at it too, like, guys, the Daniels and Jones Jr., the guy that we're going to have probably one. I mean, we are one of the best defenses in the SEC.
Okay.
So get ready for that. And that takes pressure off of Mateer and Arbuckle, because all they have to do is just be complimentary and decent. They don't have to be extraordinary. We don't need Mateer to be a Heisman Trophy winner.
No, we need him to not be an idiot, to not hijack the team. And
I'm not trying to get Mateer love here, but all I've heard is that he is already becoming a leader, and
I've heard he's having the receivers doing the stuff.
Yeah, so
he did a really good job of. I mean, I know we always break everything back to Baker and Kyler here, but even back to DG, I think DG did a good job of that, like with the dime time retreat and all that stuff. But to put a bow on the Knowles deal for me, and it's not very often I'm going to compare my coaching career to somebody like Jim Knowles, but when I got into coaching, I had goals. My goals were I wanted to coach in a state tournament, and I wanted to go be a coach at the highest levels in the high school. I was able to do that. I made a state tournament. I was able to be a coach and have success at the highest level here in Oklahoma. And you know what? I looked at that and I was able to move on to something else. When I left Edmond North and took the principal's job at Keys, Edmond North in the state championship game the year after I left. Now, probably is that Terry Evans probably did a lot better job coaching than I did. Hats off to Terry if you're listening out there. And Terry brought his son, and that helped make them better too. But that being said, like, man, Goss, I can't believe you left that job. You had 4 starters back from a really good team. Why would you do that? Well, the answer to all your questions is money. I made a lot more money taking the job somewhere else. And it was closer to family. I moved back closer to where my family was. And maybe Jim Knowles is making that same decision. Maybe it's going to be more money, and maybe it's closer to family. And when that happens, he scratched that itch. He gets that national championship next week, because I think he's going to. And I'm not he doesn't want to come back and win one in Oklahoma too. We don't want a complacent guy there, but that's not who he is, But my point I'm trying to make is maybe he's scratched that itch and he's ready for the next one. And
and who's to say that they don't make a deal with him like that behind BV's back say, hey, you're a front runner for a head coaching job if you have the success that we think you're going to here. So
right.
if you think there's
Oklahoma get jobs, Jeremy, that's what happens.
Yeah, and if you think there's not these little deals being made all the time,
right,
you're blind and you're deaf. That's all I can tell you, because I guarantee you, if they want Jim Knowles, like Ohio State, we're going to make an offer.
Well, he had a press conference today. Jim Knowles did. That wasn't about Oklahoma, but it is out there in the national media. I have heard some national people talking about it. So he had a national audience today, had a national Q&A. He did not come out and say, I'm going to beat Ohio State next year. He didn't, didn't do that. He could have, which means he is at least going to talk to us. He's giving us opportunity to talk to us. He's given us opportunity to officially, knock his socks off, so to speak. And as Oklahoma, as Josie, as BV, as President Harris, as the people who are making decisions, that's all you can ask for. You've got a shot. We're going to shoot our shot. Hopefully we make our shot. But speaking of not making shots, we probably need to talk about basketball.
Hey, before we do that, though, also, too, I think people forget that we are the University of Oklahoma. People are acting like we're Tulsa. No shot against Tulsa, okay? But that said, we still are a blue blood.
Right.
We're the University of Oklahoma. We go into somebody's living room and say, we want you to be our defensive coordinator. Jim Knowles knows Oklahoma. He coached at OSU.
So many blue bloods out there,
Oklahoma.
Jeremy. Okay. much as we got mad at Lincoln Riley. He left for another blue blood. USC is, I mean, we can joke about it being the Mecca and ha ha ha, and they've got nobody watching their games. And, I think if you put Truth Serum in Lincoln, he regrets the decision 100%. But all that being said, it's not like Lincoln left to go take the Utah job. No offense to Utah. But, I mean, that's not what it was. And Jim Knowles wouldn't be leaving Ohio State, be like, you know what? You know where I want to go? Texas Tech. I mean, that's not what he's doing. I mean, it's just freaking Oklahoma. Yeah. But yeah, no, 100%. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. You transition good and I cut you off. So
that's all right. Hey, it's all right.
We have a lot to talk about our beloved basketball team. I'm like, I tried to cut us off because I'm like, I do not want to talk about this team. So
and I mean,
I'm going to let Steve. I have so much to talk about with OU basketball. And I'm looking at it. We went 25 minutes on football, and I said, we need to start transitioning more to basketball. That's what I told Steve before we got on. And we went 26 minutes on football. So,
and I'm sure the people are like, yes, 2 more football. But can you tell us, can you analyze the 2 deep? We'll do that stuff later. We will. We'll talk about recruits. We'll do all that stuff later. But right now, there is still an ember, a little flame of hope left in our basketball season. And I'm trying everything I've got. If you've noticed, Goss is wearing a hoodie tonight for those fans on YouTube. This hoodie was purchased during the Kelvin Sampson era at OU. And Jeremy might remember, I think it was Jeremy, my brother-in-law Mike, and I were at a game. And this guy, we were playing Texas. Texas had TJ Ford. And the guy in front of us yelled F-U TJ about 7,000 times. I mean, it was every other, and it wasn't just F-U, it's a family-friendly pod, I'll say. And TJ Ford freaking lit us up. And we had a really good team. We were good. This was a top 8 matchup. I think both of us were in the top 7 or 8. And, and honestly, Texas ended up beating us that night. And I'm not wearing this because
you remember that game, Elijah? You remember Elijah Thomas hit that free throw and he went like this? Yep. Cutthroat. And I go, is that not a technical? I lost my crap. I cannot take it. So.
And, I'm telling you this, too. There were happier times in OU basketball. That was a sold-out LNC. Get this, you young kids. Jeremy and I had to wait outside to get in the LNC. It was a deal. You had to kind of like camp out for basketball days. And, this hoodie has seen lots of good basketball, but I don't know if at 9 o'clock tonight it's going to see any more. And unfortunately, I have been sunshine pumping for our friend Darren out there. I've been sunshine pumping Jeremiah Fears, telling you he's a lottery pick. ESPN was duped just like I was, and maybe he will come back. But, he has done the greatest disappearing act in conference play since Harry Houdini. It has been absolutely brutal. And in basketball, as you guys know, you're only as good as your best player is. If SGA starts to stink for the Thunder, guess what, guys? They're not going past the first round. They need SGA. That team is built around SGA. This team is built for Jeremiah Fears to be really, really good. It is. And he has been so bad that Porter hasn't even had him on the floor a lot in crunch time. Now, in our last game, we had the ball, the chance to win. And we call timeout. We have a sideline out. We're trying to, I don't know what the bleep we were trying to do. But we let no ball screen, no action anywhere. My daughter played a middle school basketball game today, and sometimes in middle school girls basketball, you run we're going to stand there, 4 girls are going to stand there, we're going to watch the one girl with the ball dribble offense. And, sometimes that's effective when you can just dribble around somebody. But that doesn't work very well in Division I college basketball, especially in the SEC. And we don't even get a meaningful shot off to win that thing. And I about cracked. I did. I've seen Javion McCullum suck in conference play. I've seen Grant Sherfield suck in conference play. I've seen Jeremiah Fears suck in conference play. The Groves brothers, I'll cut a little bit of slack. I still don't think Porter's ever transitioned from, the good teams he had. I mean, unfortunately, we're getting the Porter that was the head coach at Drake and not the Porter that was the head coach at Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the issue, is we bought that version when he had, the 48-year-old mustachioed man, and it was Sister Jean. Unless we were going to go and convert to Catholicism across our great state and let the 103-year-old lady, bless it, maybe it wasn't going to work. But I'll let Jeremy talk a little bit more before we'll talk a little actual basketball. But that's just a little bit of my thoughts and my headspace as we go into tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking for the return policy on the Moser. We wanted, I'm like, yeah, we asked for the Loyola Chicago Moser, and we didn't get that one. So the A&M game, I just had no explanation for it, because I'm driving back from my daughter's basketball lessons, and we're up by 18. And I'm like, well, 1-1, good start, won our home games, so no way we can blow this. And then we decided, and I think the problem that I had with the whole situation is we took a high school senior and we said, you are having turnover issues, because he has turnover issues. He's doing what I coach my daughter's middle school team, our 6th grade team, and they want to dribble into the corner. Fears, when you pressure him, he dribbles to the corner.
Straight down the side and then pick it up once you get down there. It works
yes.
out.
Yeah, and then just throw it up. Somebody's got to get it.
Yeah.
But also, too, I think Porter's understanding, like, when he brought in Duke Miles was going to be our scorer. Like, before they got Fears, that was his plan. Like, you've got to go another avenue. Until Fears can figure out what he's got going on in the conference play, Miles is a guy that can put you 15, 20 points, and they need to get the ball in his hands. Jalen Moore is still Jalen Moore, but guys, we have an issue, and it is a turnover issue. We cannot play just when you get us into a half-court game, we're beat. I don't remember the last time we got a 50-50 ball. I put that on Twitter the other day. I go, I don't think we've got a 50-50 ball in conference play. If there's a loose ball on the floor, we don't get it. You know what that is?
We've got there is Godwin sweats his way past somebody for an offensive rebound. That's the only.
Yeah, and also, too, when are we going to tell Moser and Oklahoma basketball that if you want to be successful in college basketball, not SEC basketball, college basketball, you better get some damn big men, because Godwin, Northweather are not your answer.
Yeah.
They are getting manhandled.
I think it was in Oklahoma, and they were trying to, like Jeremy and I have tried to do too. We don't want to be the negative Sooner fans. It's a lot more fun to sunshine pump. And Oklahoma was trying to do some of that too, and they were talking about Wagoo, or however you say his name. That guy's not he's not a high major basketball player, guys. I mean, he's not. I mean, the roster's not really good enough. It's not. And I mean, we don't have Porter's teams. I would always say, hey, they're going to guard. They're going to guard. Well, if you're going to guard, you really have to guard. And I mean, one of the old adages is back when in coaching is, okay, really simple. I'm not going to try to get basketball technical people, but basketball people really either like force baseline or force middle, kind of where your help is. Most college coaches, when you go to college clinics and that sort of thing, I'm talking about, hey, go ahead and force people baseline. And because they can shift over, you're shifting over, freak athletes to go over, pinch somebody outside of the paint, that sort of thing. And I know people out there be like, well, gosh, I understand. I'm trying to make this simple here, guys. And the simple answer is, we are in between defensively because what we're trying to do with our guards doesn't work for our bigs. One of the reasons that Godwin is always in foul trouble is because he's having to do things that he's really not physically capable of doing. He's not. And I mean, Sam Godwin, let's just not forget, was a PWO, okay? And this is a guy who has started a lot of basketball games. This is the guy who came from Mercer, okay? PWO went to Mercer before, okay? And this is not an anti-Sam Godwin. If Sam Godwin's parents are listening to this, I like Sam. I think he's a really good player. But Sam should be playing 12 or 14 minutes a night as a backup five for us. And when he transferred to Oklahoma, that's what it was going to do. You know, and Lon Kruger, one of the nicest humans on planet Earth, you know, I don't think we appreciated what a good job Lon did. But we talked about, okay, you know, this is Oklahoma football, and we're not that far from Ohio State. Oklahoma basketball is a good program. Don't give me this BS that Porter's trying to revive something that's never been revived before. We're probably the best college basketball program that's never won a national championship. Okay? If you go back to like most best win percentages since 2000, we're probably the top 10. Okay? This is a good basketball job. Kelvin did a great job. Lon did a great job. Freaking figure it out.
Yeah.
I
and
mean,
you know what? You know what? Kelvin's figured it out at Houston.
LNC all you want, but like, you know, freaking win basketball games.
And Kelvin
freaking figured it out.
Well, and also too, you looking at Kelvin's figured it out at Houston. The problem is
past Houston's campus. You ever been there?
Well, the problem is too. You look at it: Isaiah Cousins, Buddy Hield, Jordan Woodard, Spangler. I mean, those guys, how many games did they play together? Yeah. You're not, guys, that's not college basketball anymore. It ain't ever going to happen. I can honestly, confidently say you will never, ever see a team like that ever again, where they stay their whole time.
Not unless rules change. You know.
Yeah, because you can't tell me if this was now in that team, you think Isaiah Cousins can't go somewhere and get more money?
Yeah.
You think Spangler can't go somewhere and get more money? Now, Spangler's an Oklahoma kid. He might have just stayed here and probably still got paid. But that said, and also, too, we're going to try to get Spangler on the podcast, too. But because he's a family friend. But that said, college basketball's changed. If I'm Porter Moser, this goes back to the Venables deal. And people said, like, man, you better make a tournament or you're not going to have a job. My first deal would have been like, you know what we need? Yeah, we need athletes, but god dang, we got to get some big men. We have to get some big men.
But you know,
and we didn't.
Like, it's the same thing it is in football, Jeremy. We've got to be better at talent evaluation. I mean, I was looking at a deal today. Indiana, the three biggest spenders reportedly in college NIL in the transfer portal this last year were Arkansas, Indiana, and K-State. If the NCAA tournament started today, you know how many of those teams are in the NCAA tournament next year or this coming March? 0. Okay. You've got to know what you're doing. And okay, Arkansas may be out right now. And I'm not saying Arkansas even makes it this year, but Cal will get that figured out. The track record says, I bet Arkansas is in the tournament next year if they miss it this year, because he'll go back to the Tyson or whoever, Walton or whoever, get even more cash, get a little more sleazy, and go and do that. Plus, I still wouldn't count them out. Indiana has been kind of like Nebraska in football, that they found their coach. You know, like, Nebraska football, how about Oklahoma football? You ever heard of Brent Bridgewater? Okay, I get that. But Porter Moser's in year 4, guys. He should know. Okay, no, it's our first year in the SEC, but he knows what it takes at a Power 5 program to get to the NCAA tournament. And we still don't have those pieces together.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got lucky with Spears reclassifying. We got an extra piece this year that we didn't think we were going to get. We have got to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Guys, Porter has to go, period. I mean, I don't care, bad luck, no luck, whatever it is. I mean, this is NCAA tournament or bust. And Joe Lenardi still says we're a 9 seed right now. Okay.
I say a 12, but like when I say if, probably when we lose tonight to Texas, the next one's gonna be probably 12 seed.
First four out.
I just don't see
click on the
wins.
Watch thing on ESPN.com, and I keep looking for us on, last four in for last four buys, that sort of thing. But, I'll just
it's just so frustrating because we've done this the last 3 years, and
I mean,
God dang it,
Porter Moser. Porter Moser's not a bad guy. He's trying to do it the right way. I mean, guys, if you go to a game, he coaches his butt off over there. It's not any of those things. It's just, it's not working. And I'm not sure there's a chance I may go to the South Carolina game on Saturday. I'll be honest, kind of depends on how the night goes. Whether I feel like, making that trek down and watching that team. But every time I go, I feel better about it because I watch Porter and I watch how engaged he is, with the team and with the game and all that. And you want that. This is a guy, he's a good moral person. We talked about Cal and all that. I'm glad to have that. It's like I'm glad to have that with BV. But, you know what cures a lot of crap? Winning freaking games.
Yeah.
It does. Winning cures a lot. And, maybe the next time we're on here, we have beat Texas and we've beat South Carolina. And, we've got a little bit of, dare I say, momentum. But you know what? I'm not going to sunshine pump you and tell you it's going to happen. I can tell you it could happen. It could. But, I don't know. What's a better percentage, Jeremy? That the next time we're on here, OU basketball won 2 conference games, or that Jim Knowles is our defensive coordinator?
I would probably go Knowles. My confidence level in OU basketball is I am not going to get fooled anymore, and I've just seen it happen too many times, and I've watched signs of how our offense runs.
How often can we beat Charlie Brown? Okay, Lucy's putting the football down. We're going up there. We're going to have to kick it. How many times? How many times can we beat Charlie Brown?
And also too, guys, I'm just waiting for the tweet. Look how many fans came out. Guys, fans aren't going to support this team. I'm sorry. They've seen it too many times. They're not going to get fooled anymore.
Get a win.
It's a 9 o'clock game tonight.
And
people are not going to go and support a team that can't win basketball games in the conference. I'm sorry. That's how it is.
The only thing positive is I figure the students and everybody else will be pretty lubricated by the time 9 o'clock gets off. It might be, it might be, what was that, the Texas Georgia game where they didn't like the calls and they threw the beer bottle.
They might be sauced up.
I'm not advocating that, but we could see something. We see something like that. I'm going to tease something that right now is not the time. Jeremy and I do have the absolute best basketball story of all time. It involves Top Dog, and I'm just going to tease that. But something like that could happen. So for those of you wondering about our Top Dog story, we'll share that. We're
going to do a pod about just our stories. Honestly, we could probably just do a whole pod about stories from basketball games. But there are so many, and Steve has mentioned this before. He goes, "How long are we going to go until we start talking about old stories?" There are so many, so much. It was a good year when we had more fun at the basketball games than we did the football games.
Yeah.
So Hollis Price, Quantas, and all of them, those guys are. I remember I went to a bar. I'll throw this story in. I went to a bar when I was at OU, and it was a Sunday night at the Firehouse, if people who remember that. And Quantas White and Hollis Price were there, and Quantas White just talked mad crap about Kirk Heinrich. but he loved Thunder legend Nick Collison. So he said, Nick Colson's the best. I cannot stand Kirk Heinrich. And I said, well, I can't either. So
I remember standing Harry Potter at him.
So there's one. So, but like I said, guys, there's not going to be a showing tonight. And I'm just going to get ready for the tweet. Can't believe people don't support this basketball team. Nobody's supporting this basketball team until they show something.
maybe they win. Like I said, maybe they do. Maybe Jim Knowles is our DC, and maybe both those things happen. Now, to kind of put a bow on things that are a little out there, a little wacky, the preseason softball poll came out. And Jeremy, who's won the last 4 national titles? Can you tell me what school that was?
The University of Oklahoma, and I've never been more excited for them to be ranked number 3. So.
And are they? Is the University of Oklahoma ranked number 1, Jeremy?
No.
Are they ranked number 2, Jeremy?
Nope.
Okay. I didn't think so. So to use the great Michael Jordan meme, and I'm sure Patty was super excited with that poll. Took that personally. And Jeremy and I do look forward to softball season so we can talk about a team that wins, does things right, all that sort of thing. And, we are looking forward to that. Looking forward to baseball, although I don't think they're going to be a top 5 team.
Well, they were ranked number 20 in Baseball America poll, and then they weren't ranked in the other poll. I think their staff's going to be one of the best staffs in college baseball.
And I mean, man, you talk about a gauntlet in the SEC, but
SEC is going to be good. And here's the thing: we're in the SEC; they're good in everything.
Right.
I mean,
hey, at least our gymnastics is still kicking whatever you kick in gymnastics. So take that, Libby Dunn. Take your millions and your MLB husband, fiance, boyfriend, whatever. Eat it. You still lost to the Sooners in conference play. So take that. We'll take the wins where we can get them. Speaking of things that we'll take when we can get them, if you would like to sponsor this fine program, send us an email, soonercast@gmail.com. Love to up the production quality for you guys. This is something Jeremy and I are trying to get rich on. This is just something that we want to do better for you. We've had really good positive feedback from lots of different people, and we just want to make this better for you. So if that's something I'm going to talk about here in a couple of weeks, kind of what those price points would be for different things. Is it maybe somebody who's willing to pull the trigger who thinks, hey, I should give those guys $10,000 an episode to do that. That's not what we're looking for. That's okay.
But if you want to, we're perfectly fine
that's
with
fine.
it.
That's Stephen with a V. COSS. And share my address out there. But do that. Like Jeremy always says, like, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Make sure you're helping us out as we continue to help you out as we get through this Sooner season. So Jeremy,
and also too, Brody Lusk. I said that we're going to try to bring him on tonight. Well, OU plays basketball,
right?
So he messaged me and he said, "Yeah, it's going to be tough, but they play next week on Tuesday, so he's going to let me know if we can get him on there. I will let everybody know. But he is OU insider. He does good work. Really
and
fun.
Hopefully, maybe we're asking him about how much money we got to pay Kellen Sampson to come and coach next year, or maybe we're talking about maybe we're picking Jeremy and I up off the floor from our heart attacks, and we're talking about a little bit of a winning streak. So who knows? But
spend the money. Hey, send the money to Hollis Price. Get whatever you got to. But subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. Like I've said many times, it does not cost you a dime, but it helps us out. Follow our podcast, Apple, Spotify. Like Steve said, if you sponsor us, we're working to get our podcasts on all platforms. Right now, we're just on Spotify and Apple, but go check us out. Let's keep our fingers crossed tonight. Then maybe we can pull one out. But until next time,
hardwood.
Until next time, Boomer Sooner.